Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Rugby with Pads. A lot's happened in the last week. We've had the draft at last. Last time you heard from me was a couple of days before the draft, where we did our final mock draft, and we looked at all the we thought were going to go, and we were not disappointed. The draft was crazy. I think statistically the most unexpected draft there was. I mean, you had uh, the AFC South drafting back to back to back to back in the first four picks, which was crazy. It shows that the AFC South really needed a lot of work doing to it, but it did come up with some surprises. With Bijan going 8, that was great. Jameer Gibbs coming in the first round at 12. Lots of people moving around. The Arizona Cardinals moving around and actually doing really well out of it. Detroit Lions moving around and maybe doing less well out of it, but that's up for interpretation. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about rookie landing spots. We'll do a bit of a kind of look at our mock draft and where we would have sat in the grand scheme of things as an analyst. Not that I feel like I'm an analyst. I'm definitely an amateur here. But then we'll go and take a look at our rookie reactions and see, based on you guys going into your rookie mock drafts, hopefully very soon. I know mine's coming up next week. So we'll be doing our slow draft from next Saturday, and it'll probably take about 3 weeks to get through, but that's the way it is. We'll see, based on people's landing spots, whether we actually think they're in a better place than we thought of them a couple of weeks ago. So we'll jump straight into it, and let's take a look at our results from the rookie mock draft. Now, it may not seem that impressive. There's a lot of orange here, but the way analysts are scored on the mock draft is you get plus 3 points if you get the pick in the right landing spot. That's correct. You get plus 1 point if you get a pick in the right round. So, for example, Jalen Carter, I predicted him to go in the first round. I think everyone did. He didn't go where anyone thought he would, because I thought he was going to go to the Cardinals. I think the only person who thought he would go to the Texans at number 3 was going to be Daniel Jeremiah, who made a great pull there. And you get 0 points if you don't hit any of those. And there are some people that I thought would go a bit higher. And I think maybe the draft hype got to them. Will Levis, I had him going at number 11 to the Titans. He went to the Titans, but in the second round, and I mean, he's basically sad Keanu memes when it comes to the first round, because there was so much camera time on him, and he was so unlucky not to be picked in the first round. I think they would have picked him, and I think by the sounds of it, the Colts would have picked him at 4 had Anthony Richardson not been available. So there's a lot to be said there. Hendon Hooker definitely has first round potential, so they're getting him in the third round. That's an interesting one. I think Joey Porter Jr., everyone thought he would be a first round prospect, probably behind Christian Gonzalez. I had him a bit higher, but he fell into the second. And a couple of the other guys that we thought might be first round picks, I put situational picks here, weren't quite right. But I'm really happy. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. Bryce Young, I think we all had that. Will Anderson Jr., I think we all had that as well. I got Jalen Carter wrong. Sorry, Jalen Carter, of course, went to the Eagles. Didn't get that one right. I got Anthony Richardson going to the Colts, and I got CJ Stroud going to the Texans as well. So I had Will Anderson and CJ Stroud, but I had them picking him up at 12 because I thought CJ Stroud might drop, but they picked him up at 2 and then traded up at 3. I also had Khalid Jokansey going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are looking to rebuild in the trenches as well. Elsewhere, I was convinced that Jameer Gibbs would go in the first round. I thought he would go to the Cowboys, but I think someone who came out good there was definitely Tony Pollard. He's definitely got no one against him. But there are some notable omissions here. Michael Mayer, who I think many had as the top tight end prospect in the whole draft, fell out of love there and went in the second round. I can't remember where he went, but we'll go into that in a bit, because he is definitely fantasy relevant. And of course, Will Levis, we thought he would go in the first, went into the second. So we scored 34 out of a possible 93 points. So if you get everything right, you would have got 93 points in this year, because obviously Miami defaulted their pick because they're tampering with Brady or tampering and doing whatever they were doing. That would have been good enough. This is crazy, because it was so unpredictable. It doesn't seem like a great score, and I gave it a kind of yellow. It's a C plus maybe at best. It would have been good enough for the 85th best analyst score out there. Obviously, there are some people who have done fantastically, and there are some that haven't been kind of registered. But as at time of print, this is the 85th best analyst score. So we are a top 100 analyst. We're not top 10 by a long way. But, based on my limited knowledge of college football and me just having a go at things, I'm really happy about that. So I think that speaks as a big plus for British listeners and consumers of NFL media. But we'll move on. Let's take a look at our rookie reactions, our rookie rundown. Now, we're going to take a look at most of the first round picks and just go through whether we think they've landed an even keel, whether they've dropped based on where they've landed in everyone's estimations, or whether they've gone up. And we'll go through just the um, picks that are fantasy relevant. So we'll stick on the first round here, and we'll go through some people, and then we'll rattle through some guys in the second round and beyond. And there are some people even in the fourth, fifth, and sixth rounds, even the seventh, I think will be relevant as well. So let's get stuck in. Bryce Young, I think he went where he's expected, and he is going to be as good as expected. He is going to be slightly below Trevor Lawrence year one. He will go in the first couple of picks in most rookie mock drafts behind Bijan. In Superflex, he might even go one, depending on doing that. But yeah, he's landed in an okay position. CJ Stroud has gone to the Texans. I think it's a fine spot for him. I don't think he'll be particularly fantasy relevant this year, though, mainly because of the weapons around him. He hasn't got anyone. The Texans didn't pick up Jackson Smith and Jigba. They didn't pick up these guys. They went for instead Will Anderson Jr., who I think will be better for them. But he's definitely a project player, so I wouldn't expect him to contribute much this year. So he's gone down in my estimations. However, someone who has gone up based on landing spot, I think a lot of people had Anthony Richardson maybe going to the Seahawks if he dropped that far. But Anthony Richardson to the Colts is going to be a week one starter. They saw flaws in everyone in that kind of top group of quarterbacks. So they went for the home run pick, and I think Anthony Richardson could be a home run pick. He will start, and I think he will be fantastic. He will be the next Lamar, hopefully. There's a lot of there was a lot of depth being picked. I think maybe there's some really key guys. I think Tyree Wilson at edge maybe is that replacement they need in the Raiders. So Raiders defense maybe being a bit better maybe helps on fantasy side, but really the next guy we really care about is Bijan Robinson at 8, and I think the Falcons is a fantastic place for him. They want to run. And to quote Arthur Smith, they want to run the piss out of the ball. Is that the first time I've sworn on this show? Possibly. But it was quoting, so I wasn't actually swearing. But Bijan is a great position. It tanks the value for Tyler Algier and Cordero Patterson because he does both of what they do better, in my opinion. Generational talent, great position. He should be your 101 in most rookie mock drafts, and he will probably go in the first couple of rounds in your redraft leagues as well. Moving through, the next guy is his counterpart that we were talking about in the running back class, back to back. And although it's a weird spot for football, I think it's great, especially based on the movement that happened after the fact with the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 is a great pick. He is maybe a less damage on his bones than DeAndre Swift has. He's faster than DeAndre Swift, potentially better and being a bit more of a mismatch as both a runner and a passer than DeAndre Swift. It's definitely an upgrade there, and I think he will probably be the DeAndre Swift to David Montgomery's Williams from last year. That 1-2 punch. David Montgomery is a short yardage guy. He's a bruiser. This guy will play every down if he can. He's going to be brilliant, and I think he will make life very interesting for the Lions. I think they're definitely seeing a weak NFC North, and they're going to go after it. And I love Jahmyr Gibbs here. So he's gone way up in my estimations. I thought if he went to the Cowboys, he would sit behind Pollard, see if they really want to give him a contract extension rather than just the tag. But yeah, really, really good pick there. Really, really like it. We then had a lot of defenders, some weird picks. Van Ness, yeah, I like that to the Packers. The Jets going edge over tackle, I see it. Christian Gonzalez, I think for the Patriots, that was a great pick. And the fact that Emmanuel Forbes went before him, I think that's weird. Jack Campbell to the Lions was disappointing, but It landed to the Seahawks, and the Seahawks had a great draft, and they got JSN. JSN, who is by far and away the best wide receiver in this draft, and this caused a run on wide receivers. I don't think it's a good spot for him, though. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba in a vacuum was better than he will be on the Seahawks this year. This year, he's going to sit behind DK Metcalf, who is the number one. Tyler Lockett, who has too much money on him and it's a difficult contract to shift. They're not going to shift him, and he is more experienced. He's going to sit behind them and learn. Yes, you can definitely make the slot that are his own, whilst you're getting Tyler Lockett and DK maybe being those kind of edge, those wide guys going a bit deeper. But he's going to be good on receptions. But I think the touchdowns are going to be seen by DK. So he's actually gone down in my estimations because he was really high, and I'm actually putting him back to maybe 6th or 7th on my board when looking at rookie mock drafts. Quentin Johnson, however, I really like his position. He's a like for like Mike, in my opinion, and he will do great in that Chargers offense because Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are prone to getting injured. He is not prone to getting injured. I think he's brilliant and definitely upgrades him. And he's got the quarterback who, in my opinion, has the best arm in the entire league in Herbert. I think he's going to be a great addition there. Dave Flowers, yeah, I'm not too fussed either way. It's not a pass-heavy offense. We knew someone had to go there to placate Lamar, who did get paid. Fantastic, Lamar. We're really happy for you. But Zay Flowers, it's going to be a crowded room now. Now they've got Antonio Brown's back. Weird. And OBJ's gone there as well. They've got Devin Duvernay. They've got Rashad Bateman. There's 5 mouths to feed, as well as Mark Henry. And they're a running offense. Zay Flowers, I think we'll see a pickup in his second year potentially. This was a placating pick. They've got a strong team elsewhere. It supports them moving forwards, especially now they've got a young, talented wide receiver tied to a quarterback on an expensive contract now. I like the pick, but he hasn't really gone up or down in my estimations following the draft, and really hasn't damaged anyone particularly. Maybe increased Lamar's value somewhat. Jordan Addison, I think that's a weird pick, but I like it. I think he's got the opportunity to be the number 2. I don't think the Vikings quite trust KJ Osborne, despite what they've seen. I think he will start off as the number 3, but in camp and in the first few games, he maybe just has something a bit more special than KJ Osborne. So it destroys KJ Osborne's later and maybe bites into some of what you're hoping for from Hockenson. But in general, for Jordan Addison, this is a good landing spot, and I really like it. So he's gone up in my estimations, and I think he's now being drafted. Rather than being drafted in the second, he's being drafted in the first. Now, skipping the pick and going to 25, we had Dalton Kincaid as the first tight end on the board. Not quite as high as previous years. We've seen multiple tight ends go in the 8th to 10th range. Notable picks: Noah Fant. Where's he now? He's at the Seahawks. We had... Oh, who was the guy who was playing opposite him? Hockenson went early as well. And, of course, Kyle Pitts. None of who really did that well in their first season, but they've all become usable fantasy assets. Anyway, Dalton Kincaid to the Bills. Does he sit behind Knox? Do they trust Knox? I don't know. Knox saw a regression last year. It's a good pick. It's as good a pick as I could have hoped for, and I think he will have a chance to do well in a thin position. Maybe not year 1. And that was the end of the round 1 skill positions. It ended up with some great picks on defense, but going into round 2 was where I really saw some interesting things happen. And we'll go into that just after this break. And we are back. Back with a blast. Let's jump straight into round 2, shall we? Will Levis. Great pick, great value pick. I really like him. He was my number 3 on the board because I liked him better than CJ Stroud. He will sit behind Tannehill unless they get rid of him. The trade deadline still is open for a little bit. So, yeah, interesting. I think he's gone up in my estimations. But the fact he won't be valuable early in the season. I think maybe that's the only knock against him. It depends. It all depends on where Ryan Tannehill goes. So I would keep an eye on that. But the draft capital is lower on him now. And sometimes that does affect what happens to rookie QBs. And maybe he's going to be in a camp battle with Malik Willis, who I don't think they've quite given up on yet. We'll have to see. Sam Laporta, this was the first Lions pick that I thought really makes sense from football perspective. They needed a bit of a name in tight end. I mean, you've got Zilstra and other no-name guys in that roster. Obviously, they had TJ Hawkinson departing last season. Sam Laporta, possibly the best uh, catcher, receiving threat. It says here, absolutely the second best, but I think it's a 1A 1B with him and Kincaid. And Mayer is obviously very, very close in that conversation as well. So Sam Laporta, I really, really enjoyed this pick, and he has gone way up in my estimations as well. As has Michael Mayer, despite him falling out of the first round, me thinking he was going to go to the Green Bay Packers, which I thought was a bit meh because Jordan Love. Although Jordan Love getting a semi extension, not quite on the fifth round, it's weird. It's an extension without it being too risky for the Green Bay Packers. Works out well. He's not a Waller replacement by any means, but I really think he is going to be a fantastic red zone threat, whether or not he damages the value of others around him, because the key red zone threat they've got there is, of course, Devontae Adams. So let's see what happens with Michael Mayer over there. We then have a little bit of a gap until we get to Jonathan Mingo, which was a name I was not even really looking at. So, regardless, he's gone to a decent position there. He will try and strike up a fantastic relationship there with Bryce Young over at the Panthers. And yeah, they needed bodies to throw to because they have Adam Thielen and Tremble and yeah, not much else. There is someone else as well. I think DJ Shark went there. They're going to try stuff out, and Jonathan Mingo has just as much chance to become that new number one for years to come. So I think fancy asset. I like him, and I'm going to be targeting him in the second round. We then have Musgrave, tight end, going to Packers. They finally picked one up. For me, Musgrave wasn't as much on my radar as the other guys. He had some round one talent, but he dropped. I think a great landing spot. They're needy there, and they got him. So yeah, it works out well, in my opinion. Excuse me, by the way, apologies for the sound of my voice. Just recovering from a bit of a sore throat. So if my sultry tones are more croaky this week, that's why. The next skill player that we saw coming off the board was Jalen Reed, again to the Packers. They finally picked up a wide receiver. Why they don't pick up first round wide receivers, I do not know. But I think Jalen Reed is a really interesting one. Slotty, yeah, I guess. I think he could be interesting. Yeah, they've got to throw to someone, haven't they? So I think it's interesting. I think he'll start and he'll be a number two by necessity more than anything, because I don't think we've seen enough from Dobbs. Watson is the number one there, but yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, he's someone I'd keep an eye on, but I don't think he's really gone up or down in my estimations at all. But Zach Charbonnet, man, I had really high hopes for him. I do not anymore. He has tanked both his value. He hasn't. The Seahawks have tanked both his and other people's value as well. I think it almost affects JSN as well, because it seems like they want more bodies to run the ball with, and Gino to just get them across the line when they need to. So it's almost like in rugby, where you let the backs, let the forwards win the game by running the ball, and let the backs, the wide receivers in this case, decide by how many. And yeah, I think Zach Charbonnet move here affects Ken Walker, who we thought had a route to being the bell cow back. Apparently not. Maybe there is injury concerns that we don't know about. But also it signals to me that they're going to run the ball more often, which means there's less opportunity for the guys who are catching the ball from Gino. Maybe that means more efficient play. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But I think it's an interesting pick and probably not great for anyone's value from fantasy. But these GMs, they don't play fantasy. They play reality. We play fantasy. Rashid Rice is an interesting one. It's, he's got up in my estimation because he's gone to Kansas City. He's going to have Mahomes throwing in the ball. Let's hope he has enough hands to be able to catch the ball, because he flings them fast. And then we've got a tight end at last going to the Cowboys. Thought the Cowboys might pick up a tight end in the first round. Can't remember who they went for in the first round. I don't think anyone interesting from a skill position player. I think they went up and got a defensive player, but Shoemaker was the best of the rest on tight end. he has the opportunity because they do throw the tight to the tight end quite a bit. I think this year maybe it's going to be a bit more pass heavy across the field, a bit wider. But he has opportunity to get all those tight end picks because there's no one else there to pick them up. And then we have a couple of extra picks who I don't think are particularly valuable as well. Brendan Strange, again, if we're going down the list, they needed another tight end for depth. They've got Evan Ingram. He's the number one there. I don't, as it says here, it's an insurance for Evan Ingram. He's gone up a little bit because he'll start, but he's a bit of a depth play, really. I think he'll start in two tight end sets at the very least. And Marvin Mims, I don't like this one at all. I loved Marvin Mims, and he was going to be my guy. Broncos don't make sense though. Slow passing team. Yes, Sean Payton's going to get more out of them. He's the first pick under Sean Payton as a receiver. I don't like that at all. He will get play, but where? Because they've got a wide receiver room that they need to shift some bodies on. They've got Sutton, they've got Judy, Tim Patrick. They've got some great guys there. But when your quarterback isn't throwing well, it's very difficult to justify. Right, we'll take a quick break as well, and we'll slam through round 3 and some select guys in the later rounds. And just like that, we are back. For you, that might seem like an eternity. For me, it was 12 seconds. Right, we started off the third round with some depth picks and some key players in defensive positions. No one here that you're going to become a household name overnight, I don't think. And then the Detroit Lions with quite a shrewd pick, and it's interesting now because Hendon Hooker was first round talent. He's a bit older. He could be a plug and play replacement and backup. I think third round is where you get your backup guys who could become something good. Jalen Hurts in the past was great. So Hendon Hooker has that pathways to success potentially. Sit behind someone who is unsure of, but they're thinking about extending Jared Goff. So Hendon Hooker, I think his draft value is good because I think he was always going to be outside of that top 4. He was never going to be a starter. So him going to the Lions, I think, is interesting, and he has a chance to play later on this year. I think he's maybe in Superflex or in Dynasty, regardless. He is maybe a second, third year starter. You hold on to these guys at quarterback because they're such positions you want to hold on to. And next we have Tank Dell. Tank is strange because he's 5'8", and like 165. He is a small guy of a small guy receiver draft. But Nate, or Tank to his friends Dell, has gone to the Houston Texans. He stayed in Houston, in fact, because he went to university over there. Sorry, college. He's a young guy. He's a speedster. He's going to take the top off. DJ Stroud is going to have a new weapon, but that room, I don't think he's going to compete to be the number one. You've got Nico Collins. You've got John Mechie coming back from cancer treatment. And you've got Tank Dell, and it's just a bit. He'll play, but I don't really like it, and I think it's just. I think he's got longer term value as a number 2 rather than maybe this year. Kendre Miller went at 71 in the 308 to the Saints. I do like that. He could have some play, and he could, if Kamara misses time, he could play the 1A 1B with Jay Willie over there. So I do really like that one. I think it's a good pick. You have Jalen Hyatt at the 10 spot in the third round. Yeah, this pick for the Giants is an interesting one because they've got a very stacked, well, not stacked, not talented wide receiver room. There's just a lot of bodies there. Where Jalen Hyatt fits in there, he's a slot guy. They love slot guys. Maybe because Daniel Jones doesn't throw very far. It doesn't throw very often either, so I just think the volume isn't going to be there. So he has gone down quite considerably, in my opinion. But Cedric Tillman, I think, has a route to become the number 2 over at the Browns there, taking the 11th pick in the third round. As a wide receiver, he's going to be great. I didn't realise this. He was a college. We've got college teammates going back to back here with Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman was way high on my board. I really, really liked him, and I thought he was going to go probably close to the middle of the second rather than the third. But I add him to the Browns, funnily enough. So I think this really helps out and takes a lot of pressure off both Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. Not that Deshaun Watson necessarily deserves it. That's my first jab at him this year. Tucker Craft, tight end, a second tight end, back to back picks for, well, not quite back to back, but in back to back rounds for the Packers. Don't get it, but you know what? 12 team, if they're going to run it, if they're going to run 12 personnel, run the ball a lot or have two tight ends, he's a good body to have. He's good blocking tight end. Don't think he's got anything for fancy. And yeah, he's just a bit meh for me. I didn't really have him high on my board. But someone I did have high on my board was Josh Downs going to the Colts. And with Anthony Richardson, it could be interesting. I'm going to have him going down in my estimation a little bit, mainly because I don't think there's going to be the passing volume for Anthony Richardson. I think Shane Steichen is going to play to Anthony Richardson's strengths, which is scrambling, designed runs, and deep threats, which is Pittman. Pittman is not going to be the reception guy. Pittman is going to be the guy. I think it'd be interesting to see him, see how he plays. I think he has a route to become the number 2 potentially. We'll have to see. But yeah, maybe a bit down in my estimations. But I do like Ty Spears, switching up a little bit, going to the Titans at the 18th spot in the 3rd round. I think this is where you're going to get a lot of value, not this year, because Henry, unless he gets traded, I don't think he'll get traded now that Swift has gone to the Eagles. If he goes down, injured foot, whatever, and he has had a recurring foot injury, as our King Henry, Ty Spears is a good player to step in, and I think he has a lot of value there. But my number 1 guy, and this is the best value, and I could do a whole episode on Devin A.K.A. or A-Chain, however you pronounce it, but he is going to be brilliant. It's the perfect fit, fancy, reality, brilliant. He is a burner in the backfield, and I want him in all my rookie drafts. I want him in all my main drafts. I think he is going to be great in best ball. He's going to be fantastic, and he is going to leave Mostert and Jeff Wilson for dust in that offense. David A.K.A. to the Dolphins, that is a brilliant pick. I really, 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 really like it. Pick I don't like though, Tank Bigsby. Meh. On the face of it, there's no real value. I don't like it at all. And finishing off the 3rd round here, we've got Darnell Washington, who I raved about. Absolutely raved about him in my combine review. Pittsburgh Steelers, he is great. He is going to be a fantastic blocker. They need to run the ball. I think what it does is it increases Najee Harris's value to no end. I love it. And I think the Steelers are a sensible enough organization to really make that work. I didn't even have these guys on my board, but Michael Wilson and Trey Tucker are already there. I think they're fill-in players. Michael Wilson for the Arizona Cardinals has room to play if D Hop goes, which he might do, and Trey Tucker has an option to play as well. He's definitely that fourth guy, speed guy. Maybe they're trying and replicate what they had with Ruggs, but with less off the field issues. But it's worth a very special mention at 99. Jake Moody, a kicker, going to the San Francisco 49ers. We are an all-inclusive fantasy club here, even though I hate kickers to no end. In fantasy, I don't think they should be there because they're so inconsistent. Moody being picked to the top 100, and I think there was someone picked in the 4th round as well at 112. Yeah, exactly. At 112, Chad Ryland was picked for the Patriots. 2 kickers going in the first 112 picks. Bonkers, but it is what it is. But yeah, special shout out to those guys, because I think those guys will probably be the next Robbie Gould and Nick Folk for years to come. But we've got a couple of select rounds here. At 115, to the Chicago Bears in the 4th round, Roschon Johnson, who will be easily the number 2 back and could be a really interesting caliber player behind Herbert. I think he will get some playing time. So if you're looking for someone late in your draft, he is someone that I would look towards. And my new guy, Stetson Bennett. I didn't even realize he was drafted because I wasn't really paying attention at this point of the draft. But Stetson Bennett to the Rams behind a Georgia native who won the college football championship in SoFi, going to play in SoFi. Really like it. And if, as I think, the Rams are due for a little bit of a tanking this year, Matt Stafford maybe not extending beyond this year, Stetson Bennett has a chance to play some games. I'd hold on to him. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but maybe after 3 years, he has a good chance of starting a few games. So I really like Stetson Bennett going there, even if it's only as a depth pick. There were some interesting ones in the fifth round, and some guys who I think really shot up my draft board a little bit. At 159, where is it? Here we go. We've got to I horrible name to pronounce. I'm sorry if I butcher this, but I think it's Dontavion Wicks, wide receiver from Virginia, going to the Packers as well. I put him on the board because, well, yeah, they've got to throw it to someone, haven't they? And I think if they pick up enough wide receivers and tight ends, someone's bound to stick and someone's bound to work. So let's hope for his sake it is him. Over at 172, we have Eric Gray, a running back going to New York Giants. I like this, if only because if Saquon holds in any way, shape, or form, it's an interesting. He's an interesting pickup, and he will probably be on your waiver wires going into the season. But definitely one that I would put a star behind and see if he's available if Saquon does anything weird. And Davis Allen. Davis Allen, I think, is a really interesting pick, and I really like it. Tight end from Clemson. He's got caliber. Going to the Rams, who need tight ends. They might want to run the ball a little bit. At the very least, he's got 2 tight end sets. Great. And finally, Puka Nacua in the 5th round as well, at the end of the 5th round, to the Rams as a compensatory pick. He is jet sweep guy. He will do what Robert Woods used to do, and I'm really excited about that. There's a couple of less people in round 6, and maybe I kind of laser focused in on my team. And the one pick that really jumped out to me was Zach Evans going at 215, right at the end of the 6th round. Well, not quite right at the end. 215. Zach Evans, running back from Mississippi, going to the Rams. He has room to play. How Cam Akers can go from the guy to being out of the team to being the guy, he's not reliable. So I think Zach Evans has maybe 3rd or 4th round talent, which is and you know what, the Rams have this ability to pick up later round guys, and later round running backs, make it work. And finally, in round 7, we've got two guys we're going to pick out. We're going to pick out player number 228, Colton Dowell. He's the only wide receiver that the Titans picked up. Who are the Titans throwing to? Treylon Burks can't do it all on his own. I know they've got a couple of tight ends there, but it's him and this rookie that's picked in the 7th round. They've got to trade for someone, surely. You'd hope for any Titans fan they do, or maybe they're not looking for it this season. And finally, we will focus in on Mr. Irrelevant. But maybe he's going to be relevant this year. Deshaun, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Johnson. Again, going to my Rams. We picked last. Hopefully we can recreate what the San Francisco 49ers did with Purdy last year, and we get a slam dunk pick here. I think he has the ability, and if you read his story, he has the ability to be great. Maybe not quite as great as we need right now, but he will start. I think he will get reps, and he will be interesting for fantasy, and maybe make maybe make the Rams defense slightly bearable to watch. I think that's as bad as I can get. Right. That's the end of our rookie recap. So we had some good positives, some good negatives. Hopefully it informs you a little bit going into your rookie drafts if you're doing it this week, next week, or a little bit more into camp when we decided, here's some opinions of where the land lies before the end of, because I think there's another free agency tampering period coming up as well. We'll leave it at that, and if you stay on just towards the end on the on the video version of this podcast, I've got a couple of things to show you. But for all you audio listeners out there, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you very soon on the virtual gridiron. Right, for all you video watchers, video listeners, I've got something a little bit extra to show you, and I'm going to be putting something in the mid-roll of the podcast audio version moving forward as well for those of people who want to consume this content as well. But a few of you have been asking me, Sam, when are you going to put some merch out? and I met with a few friends, a few of you hopefully who listen to this as well, and I wore my full gear. On your screen, you've obviously seen me wearing. Oh, well, I'm not even doing it the right side. Can I get it in shot? Yeah, here we go. My Rugby with Pads hoodie. I've got a t-shirt as well that I've had mocked up, and I've had a couple of different things mocked up as well as. Oh, here we go. Little pop socket to go with your phone as well. But I've been going through and deciding what's good and what's bad. We've had a couple of samples, and I've decided to go for some more premium stuff to make sure that it's going to last you moving forwards. And I wanted to get it out there, and I wanted to work out the best way of doing it. And it was getting very complex trying to build a store and do all this stuff. And one of our fellow contributors, Dan, suggested I look at buymeacoffee.com. And I've talked about it a couple of times, but I've finally relaunched the site for you guys to consume and for you guys to see what we've got on offer. So without further ado, let's show you what we've got here. So Buy Me a Coffee is very similar to Patreon. Effectively, you can sign up for as little as £1 per month to support the pod in any way, shape, or form. You can give tips if you'd like. I'm not asking for anything, but you can say something nice. But this is where I'm going to be providing additional content and support for listeners where they need it. Yeah, and where they want to support the show. But obviously, you get something back. So for £1, you can help us keep lights on, and I'll give you access to posts and stuff I'm going to be doing early. But as with Patreon, you should get some rewards as well. So I've got a number of different, tiers. It's not to spoil everything for everyone, but a number of different tiers for you guys to consume. And effectively, with each tier, you get some merch with it as well. I wanted to throw it in there because I feel like you guys should get something more than just my meandering waffling and experience out of the thing. So from £3 a month or £30 for the year, so a bit of a discount there, you can get a fantastic t-shirt plus a couple of bonus stuff, bonus benefits out of it as well. So you can rent the pod. We do some posts and messages, and we'll give early access to the waivers, the starts and sits, and any other recurring features and polls as well. I haven't put this on this, but we're going to do polls around the Road to Redemption series as well. So if you want to become a positional coach for £3 a month, you can join, or it's £30 per year. If you do the annual membership, I'll be able to send a t-shirt out straight away. If it's £3 per month, I'm just going to accrue it a little bit, and I'll send it out after month 10. If you want to become an offensive coordinator, that sounds weird, but I went around this kind of this positional methodology as well. You can reward yourself as a sweatshirt variant or a hoodie variant. I'm waiting for the hoodies to come in. At the moment, I've got a premium sample. It won't be in this color, I'm afraid. This color was actually a classic version. It's a cheaper version. I want to go with more premium fabric for you guys. So if you're interested in getting yourself a sweatshirt or a hoodie, charcoal, navy, and dark heather, I'll do some posts so you can see some of the colors on socials soon as well. You can join from £5 a month or £50 a year. So effectively getting a premium hoodie for £50 plus a load of other stuff. We'll do everything there. Plus, I'll fix your lineup in the pod if you would like as well. So you get everything that's there as well, and I'll give you. We'll give the shout outs to everyone who joins. Obviously we're trying to build a community. I really like the hoodie. I really like the sweatshirt as well. I'm getting the sweatshirt in dark heather as a bonus for me as well, because I want to rep it as well, and I want to have something for you guys to see every time you turn on the pod. We then have bundles as a play caller. You could either get the hoodie and t-shirt or the sweatshirt and t-shirt, £8 a month or £80 for the year, as you do. Effectively, it's it's the same price as that plus that. Plus, you get a couple of extra bonuses. I'll fix your lineup twice in the season, and you'll be able to have more premium access to some of the other features as well. If you're interested in any of the merch, by the way, you can go and download the size guide. I'll leave it in the show notes as well, but it's just a Google Doc that you can go and have a look at the fits, see what's right for you, because these are all printed on demand. It's worthwhile saying. So I don't have these sitting in a warehouse. They're all printed on demand. They'll be with you within 4 or 5 days. And we do ship in both the UK and US as well. So if you're a US listener as well and you want this, you can get it. But you can get the Play Quarter bundle, either a hoodie and t-shirt or a sweatshirt and t-shirt, for £8 a month. And finally, I know a couple of you have been asking for, how can I be the I'm trying not to swear on this pod. The full kit, you know what I mean. The full kit guy, the guy to really rep the brand. You can be. You can become an angel investor and get the full Monty, which is a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and hoodie. Obviously, when you join, just send me what your size are, what colors you want. All the options are available to view on the size guide. But we'll unlock some extra perks, and I'll do a draft strategy workshop with you on the pod at your time of choosing. And you get to support me and help me set my lineups every week. So I'll do exclusive polls for the guys who are in the Angel Investors Club for all of my leagues. So if you're interested in joining, it's buymeacoffee.com/rugby with pads. You can support on a one-off basis, or go into the memberships and join from as little as £1. It really helps me. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm just looking to keep the lights on, so to speak. And this is where we'll be driving a lot of extra content for the pod, and we'll be doing early releases and that kind of thing. So we'll be doing premieres for certain shows. You'll have access to some streams that we're going to be doing for some of the draft as well. There's a lot more going to be going on here. So that's it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. And if you do want some merch, it is live now. Contact me on all of the socials or throughout your normal mechanisms that you would do. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have, or if you feel like some of these need tuning and you want a bit more out of that, I'm more than happy to have that discussion with you. But thank you again for watching this far. Really do appreciate it. I'll put this segment out as a separate on socials as well, and we'll cut it down once we've got the merch to show you as well, because I've got a load of samples on order in the next couple of days. But as always, thank you for watching this far, and I will see you all on the virtual gridiron.